Welcome to Masters of Data, everyone. I'm Adam White. I have with me Zoe and David Gervin. Good to see you again. Hello.
Hi, can't
Hello,
get rid of
hello.
me.
Wouldn't even want to.
You,
Wouldn't even want to.
you could get rid of me. I mean, no, we can't.
Just give me a salary and my surfboard. I'm out.
The blog robot. No, though, we
I thought
gotta
you
keep
were
the
making
blogging
like a
going.
medication could treat anything kind of thing.
No, no, it's like universal basic income for blog robots.
There you go.
Oh, yes, there we
Uh,
are.
This does
Love
kind
it.
of lead into our title a
It
little bit
does.
today, or our topic, which is what are agents doing? Which is a good general question to ask these days. Especially we were all at RSA last week or week before last, 3 weeks
It's like
ago.
a
I can't
month ago
remember.
now.
It
It's
feels like
fine.
it. Yeah, but agents were everywhere. Agents are everywhere. And it's kind of, we were having some of these conversations there. It's kind of like what are agents doing, like doing autonomously, maybe versus helping a human. It's just a very interesting dynamic these days. And you have some autonomy, but more is like, hey, here's this thing for you to do, human, and it's working on that stuff in the background, which is helpful and strange at the same time.
Well, and I think it's still so new that like even at RSA and just in general, we were told like trust but verify,
Mhm.
and AI is moving so fast that like you can't verify everything, but also you really shouldn't even trust in the first place, I think. Like it hallucinates or it gets it wrong so often that, you really need to be on top of it and not trust and verify. Like it's
Wait,
Yeah.
breaking all of the expressions.
wait. If it's getting things wrong, then why is everybody using it for everything and to make sure that AI is being correct, which is still the stupidest thing I've seen. But it's across the board. Like you saw the same framing for all the marketing handouts because it was all written by freaking Claude. You saw the
Hmm.
same wording across every single booth, but no one knows what they're actually talking about. So it's just this just word salad.
Well,
I
and
think it is a very
oh,
interesting thing. We talk about this all the time in our, offline conversations of like having a conversation with AI, kind of like arguing with it. I mean,
yes.
we're doing more and more of that. And I guess the good thing is that makes it better, ideally, in the long run, that like you're teaching it kind of where it's wrong to the degree it's learning, or, that human in the loop. But yeah, it's like the face value element of AI and agent work is just, you can't be trusted fully at this point.
Well, and for me, it goes back like I feel like we all kind of had this collective amnesia, because like in the early 2000s, Facebook came out and had the mantra like move fast and break things, right? I think it was them.
Yeah.
Move fast and break shit was like their thing. And everyone was like, that's so cool. And they walked that back within like a year or two. Within a
Uh,
year or two, they were like, actually, that
we
doesn't
broke too
work
much.
very, like, we broke everything. Like, move a little bit slower. We do not need to be moving this fast. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay. But
Yeah.
everybody, it was too late. Like, the move fast and break shit was out of the box and couldn't
Yeah.
put it back away. And so I feel like that mantra of tech has persisted, even though we have 20-ish years, 20 plus years of going like, probably not a good idea. It's still going. And so I think that has now applied to AI where it's like, we can go even faster. And it's like, as someone who plays with like all the different AI tools, obviously, like I'm not gonna be a complete technophobe just yet. But I play with all of them and all of them have like, would you like me to think or not? And it's like, how much faster is the like, is this just hallucination at
Yeah.
record pace versus less hallucination in 10 seconds? Like, what is the speed we actually want to go and how much do we want to break in this
Yeah. No,
situation?
I think it's funny you say that because I use like the paid ChatGPT a lot, and it all the time is like thinking longer for a better answer, and I'm like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. Like, are we talking? a minute more, like I don't care, you know. I would rather have a better answer and it take longer than just like garbage that I'm gonna have to sift through in a, and get it 10 seconds
And then it's
faster.
your
Like,
and then it's your minute that you have to
yeah,
spend, or
exactly,
two or
exactly.
three, that you have to actually think longer for a better answer.
Exactly. You're just, and Zoe, you and I in particular have talked about this. It's like just throwing something over the fence. Like so many things about AI, and I love AI. It's sounding like we're, talking bad about AI. Like we love it. I think we can collectively say that. But, it's so easy to just create things and almost like defer the work to someone else because it was
Mm.
so easy for you to create it that you can pass along something that now is someone else's problem very quickly.
Yeah, I think like going along with that, you just see there's this trap that is very, very prevalent already, which is you start to use it, but then you start to trust it. But then you get in over your depths. So you're like using AI to answer things on LinkedIn, which is super obvious. Good framing. Or you're doing it in a meeting or something like that. But then if someone actually asks you to your face about that one super deep technical problem, one, you don't know if the AI was right, but two, you just look like an idiot. And like this thing is like running rampant on Zoe and I were just talking about this on LinkedIn where I've started basically attacking people in my comments that just reply with AI because I can't deal with it anymore. I'm like, just have a human conversation with me.
You're gonna cause Zoe's eye to tick if you don't watch it, David. Like,
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
is
I do tell everybody in our training, don't fight with strangers on the internet. It's not worth the calories. But I agree. Like, I see people, especially in like the content community, because like words matter and words matter to everybody, but
Words
especially like
matter.
I've heard that.
writers and
Yeah.
people who really care deeply about this are leaving the same sort of garbage AI comments. And the response that I've seen now that I love is instead of TLDR, people write AIDR.
Yes.
I do love that of like AI didn't read. I wish I could reply that way to other things I see people use AI for. But I mean, I agree, like Adam, to your point about like throwing it over the fence, like I feel like content saw this early on in the AI journey because everybody who for years was just like, oh, I can't write or I suck at writing or this takes me a long time or whatever, got the same tools and decided to start using AI to write. Not just you, David. You actually are thoughtful in your writing, which I appreciate. So don't try
Wonderful.
and pretend you're in this group. But the people who were just, terrible writers suddenly had these tools and decided they were great writers. And it
Hmm.
was still bad writing because they were bad thinkers. Like they were not putting their thoughts together. And so the amount of slop that would get thrown over the fence is like, this is a white paper, this is a blog. And I'd be like, actually, it's not. Like, actually, no, I'm not publishing this. Um, but it puts the responsibility on me instead of the writer.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with AI. Like you see it with code where, developers are like, I can write 10,000 lines of code in 3 seconds with my AI coding thing. And it's like, okay, but who's doing your PR? Like who's doing the review on this?
Dude,
Yeah,
Like,
no
that's
one
even
is the answer to that question.
well, no one with some of these outages, at least recently, this has been hitting kind of heavy, but the on the dev thing, it's crazy. Like this is I was trying to talk to some people this weekend about this, and we're in this space where they can write really good code, like really, really, really good code. But the problem is a lot of like developers didn't want to use AI because it's going to replace their jobs. And so they like put it off and now they're using it, but they don't know how to use it. It's another tool. So you have to like have guardrails, like OpenSpec is like a way that you build design documents and tasks off of it within your so your agent can understand how to write if it's building something big. And it's like everybody's like, "Oh, I don't know why AI coding sucks so bad," but they never learned how to do it and then they trust it. So they're
Yeah.
the exact same thing. They're pushing that PR code review to like some senior principal dev who's just crying in the corner, going like, "Why am I getting all this crap that doesn't work?" But it's yeah, it's the same thing with y'all's side on like having to review horrible writings.
Yeah, it's like some weird like imposter syndrome, or maybe it helps people get over imposter syndrome to have AI as kind of a crutch for this stuff.
Because
But it,
now they're just full imposters. It's not a
yeah,
syndrome.
it's
The
not a
AI,
syndrome.
the
It's
AI
just
is the
right.
imposter.
Yeah.
You can tell the guys that are in the meeting that some technical questions going on, and there's like a pause because they're waiting for their inference to
They're
come through
like
so they can
typing.
so they can
Yeah.
say it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Gosh.
Oh
But I,
man.
I
That
do
that
have to
makes me
say though,
sweat.
I
Like
know,
just
right? But I think part of this as well is like all of us are using it, right? And in
yeah.
part that's because we're curious, technical, interested people, right? Like that's, I would say, I mean, I'm going to define us on this podcast that way. Like
Yeah.
we are curious, we are technical, we want to play with these things, we want to use the latest technology. Like that's cool and fun. And we all have stories of places where it has been magical for us and places where it has been absolutely garbage, right? Like I can think of
Yes.
those examples, both sides at my fingertips, no problem. I could rattle them off all day. And I think what scares me or I don't know if it's, I guess it is scary, is like the reason we have these great technologies is that people who were innovative thinkers who really like wanted to jump into this cutting edge technology built cool things or invested in cool things and had the, best and the brightest build these technologies and they do so many things that we never thought would be possible. But then you see them now and like I watched these interviews with these like thought leaders and they're like, oh, I don't think anymore. I let AI think for me. Like thinking is a commodity. And I'm like, are what?
Why am I
Like,
listening to you? I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
I could just listen to my chat GPT voice instead of listening to you. It's the same thing now, right?
Yeah.
That's the scary part though, is like critical thinking skills is what makes things actually happen, right? Like I use AI obviously deeply, but
Hmm.
all the best stuff have still been an idea I stumbled upon, like what Adam and I were talking or you were talking in the beginning. It's like I argue with AI and I like pressure test the crap out of it. Like, I'm like, I think you're gaslighting me. This is not right. Like, like show me proof. And like, I'm like, my wife's like, what is going on in David's office? I'm like screaming at the computer.
He's
Um,
like shining bright lights at
yeah,
it's like an
but
Where were
interrogation in there.
you?
it only
Yeah.
works because I honed critical thinking skills for my whole life and I've been inquisitive without all this. It terrifies me for like younger people who are growing up with this, unlike not learning those skills. Like it's we have to really think about like how are we doing this with our kids? How are we going to teach them critical thinking skills and to look at their own blind spots and to realize that there's gray area and truth or whatever. And it's
But
not
it's
easy
even,
now.
but it's not even like it's not even a think of the children moment. Like it's
It's a
think
think
of
of
the
us.
adults. Like look at these thought leaders who have
Yeah.
abdicated thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. But then it's how that trickles down into an organization, right? So you have someone like Elon, you have someone like Sam Altman, you have someone like Zuckerberg coming out and being like, I don't think anymore, or you can talk to my AI avatar. And, it's like, okay, but if I work for this person, right? If this is my boss, if this is my leader, they're not the only ones, they're the most visible ones. But like, this is the message we're hearing more and more across these companies of like, hey, use AI for this, use AI for that. Like, if you don't know the answer, maybe ask AI as an AI avatar of your boss, and like your AI boss can tell you the answer to things. And that's kind of demoralizing, first of all, just as an
Yeah.
employee. But then beyond that, you get into a mode of like, well, do I trust the output of this? Do I believe the output of this? How skeptical should I be? How much of my own thinking is valued? And it just, yeah.
I just had like dystopian thought already. So we all work in tech, right? So we've all woken up to a layoff email. It was just part of our job now. What happens when you wake up to a recording avatar from your CEO or HR person that's like, "We're sorry, but business decisions have changed," and
It's
and
just
you're just
clear.
like,
It's the person that you know, but it's just like AI done.
"Oh,
Yeah.
dude."
Like, would you like to ask questions about this experience? Like, you can chat
God.
to your AI. Like, yeah, no,
Oh,
I think
it
that's one of
is.
the things like the promise of AI and the things that it's great at, it's like awesome, but uh, removing the human or the feeling of humans, from not just the work that we do together, but it's fun to buy things from humans. It's fun to feel like people had something to do with it, and it's like no matter how good the AI DR gets, like if you feel for a second like you're not being responded to by a human, I just think that's not going to go well. Like we're talking about this whole conversation is kind of like where do the humans end and the robots begin, or however you want to look at that. But like I just think as technologists and as people in general who have anything to do with this industry, like we can't get so drunk on AI that we lose all human touch to it, because it's just
Yeah.
going to be like no amount of efficiency gain or any of those things is going to make up for the lack of a human being involved.
I
People
remember
just won't
working,
bond with it. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David. You were going to say
I
something.
was just gonna say like that's it. It's like no matter if it's a meeting or if it's a code review or if it's propaganda, I mean marketing, um, there's gotta be human interaction. I don't care if AI built it, but like the human needs to understand it and they need to be the one presenting it and actually having the conversation. That is why I would like to propose anybody who replies to any comments in LinkedIn with AI should be publicly humiliated. Don't know if we start tarring and feathering again, but there's
But
got I'm
but that
so sick
implies
of
that people have shame, which,
mm,
as we've
mm,
learned from the internet, that's not a thing.
that's fair.
But I think I love what you said, Adam, and I think it's so true about needing to have that human piece, and it doesn't really matter the efficiency gain. Like I truly keep thinking about this, with the AI and with myself, like how efficient do we need to be? Like we're not machines, we're not robots. Like we're
Yeah.
supposed to have friction. We're supposed to have the thing where you like want to mail a letter, and sure, an email would be faster, but you know what? I have to go to the store and I have to buy an envelope and I have to buy stamps and I have to interact with someone at the post office. And that's supposed to kind of be what being human is about, of like
Yeah.
having those accidental interactions where because I was in the supermarket and so was someone else and we met and now I have this connection, or I saw a friend I haven't seen in a while, or whatever it is. Like we're
yeah.
supposed to bump into each other a little bit and we're
Yeah.
supposed to interact with each other and be inefficient. And I don't know, I think there is that element of AI, yes, makes us move faster and it's magical in so many ways, and comes up with really great conclusions a lot of the times, or helps us in these brainstorming conversations or poking holes in our thinking, but it's not going to be the end all be all. Like ultimately, we have to still be happy to put our name on things. The buck stops here kind of vibe of like, yes, I used AI to build this, this, and this, but I am proud to put my name on this. Like this is
Yeah.
my thinking, my output. Versus like, well, I don't know, it's what Gemini did, so I guess it's fine. Like no one wants that, you know?
Yeah. And is there any value in you articulating that if we're just all assuming that it's fine? It's like what world are we creating, to some degree? Like I was just thinking when you were talking about the supermarket, like how often have you been frustrated in self-checkout versus when somebody's checking you out at the supermarket? And like that's a complete parallel here of like that's supposed to be autonomous and it's just you and the machine, and it's like yeah, but if one little thing goes wrong, you're like on
Unexpected
an
item in the
island
bagging
now,
area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's
I,
over.
but I can go to the self-checkout and get carded for like buying spray paint, which makes me feel young and pretty.
Oh, okay. All right. I
Oh,
get
that's
it.
nice. That's good for
It's
you.
funny.
Yeah, I
They're
don't
like, are
get the
you over
like,
18?
you don't get the casual, like, obviously you're old enough to buy this. Like, you are clearly aged and in need of whatever wine you are buying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it usually
Yeah.
But I think there is that. So when we go back to our original thought of like, what should humans do or what are humans doing versus agents? Like, I think there's also a lot more handoff of thinking and like imaginary future of what the agents can or could are doing versus the reality of it, right? Like everybody's saying AI is a top priority for me. I use AI all the time. But if you actually dig into it, are they? Like, is it? Or how much of it is still just a human prompting or a human doing the work
Yeah.
versus these autonomous agents that work in the background and do your whole job for you? Like, I don't know that it's that far yet.
Well,
Yeah.
they said that
I
at RSA there was like 70 plus AI SOC startups at just at the
Hmm.
conference. But then I guess a whole bunch of them had humans in the background doing stuff that they hadn't figured out how to get the AI to do efficiently yet, like secretly. I don't know. That's just I saw this little article on it, but I was just thinking
like a
it's
Wizard of Oz situation. You've got somebody
yeah,
like pulling
There
levers
is
and
so
gears
this is
back
a
there.
concept called the
yeah,
mechanical Turk that has been around forever. It sounds like it's a terrible name, I know, but like it's that whole thing of like it looks like a machine, but it's actually just someone from
the
like
guy inside.
like a third world nation, like an underdeveloped nation that is being forced to work for
Yeah,
way less money, who's actually doing it. Like there was that other AI startup as well that fell down. I think it was like an AI development house that was
I
like
know
Oh
what you're
yeah.
talking about.
the
Yeah.
build or something like that, something
Yeah,
along those
it
lines.
was just
And
all
then it was
developers.
just all Indians. It was just like an
Oh,
army of Indian devs that
There's
were
a
like,
ton of people.
yeah,
being overworked like
being
crazy
overworked
for this
and
facade of AI. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
like
I mean,
actually an Indian or whatever they called it in the articles. It was like AI stands for actually an Indian. It was
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh.
oh
I,
my
I think
gosh.
there's I think there oh man. I think there's something to say though, like our program manager, I don't know what to call her, that does everything for us on this podcast, who's wonderful, said like was talking about this meme she saw on LinkedIn that said, 5 years ago or whatever, the office had cold brew on tap and now it's use AI or get hit with stick. And it's like not that that's happening here. We like our AI, but
No
but
one
it's
hits us with sticks
no
yet.
one hits us with
Right.
sticks. We all
Yeah.
we all get to use AI without sticks.
Yes.
But it's this kind of weird shift in the industry to where they're trying to push things on you that aren't ready yet because everybody wants the output they desire, which is more profits, more blah blah blah. But it's not there yet. So we all are still the whatever Turk thing.
Hmm.
We're all still that person behind the AI trying to get more work done and more profitability and yes sir and I'm doing awesome, like but it's not there yet. So
We are the Wizard of Oz. We are both the man behind the curtain and the one consuming
Right.
that.
On,
I
Like
just
we're
want
on
both.
both sides of the curtain. Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of want cold brew and hit with stick.
I would like all
I,
the things, please. Yeah.
Yes.
I like to just be briefly a Sumo employee, like
Briefly.
the SOC analyst agent that that we've in preview, and like I love how something like that really like bubbles up to the surface like what somebody should be focusing on. Like I think that's a really practical and great use of AI. It's like, hey, in this ocean of things that you could be working on, here are the most important things that you should be working on. Like I think that kind of AI is extremely useful and powerful these days, because a human still has to do it and they still have to apply their knowledge and experience, albeit maybe augmented by AI that's kind of telling them like, hey, here's all the stuff that happened that you need to be focusing on and thinking about. But like, that's kind of an exciting avenue of AI for sure, which is like the narrowing of focus of like what does the human need to be doing with the minutes of their day, if you will.
Dude, I think that kind of stuff is actually really cool because like yeah, I mean we have SOC analyst agent that's starting it. But the way that I look at it is like security people like security. So let's say like you roll out agents and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't make you not do security anymore. It's actually just bringing all the things that are real that you actually need to do. There's always going to still be that place as the manager of the AI or whatever. You're still doing security work. Like I've tried to explain this to people. Like I'm building things using agents all the time. I still am really excited when I build something cool. Like when I'm
Yeah.
done with it, I'm like, I built this. It's cool. Like, yeah, the agents did the coding this time, but I did it. It's the same thing, I think, with like all of our wonderful SOC customers. They're just gonna be like, dude, we remediated like 300 tickets today from some giant attack, and it was just me, Sean, and Eric in the SOC. And we just knocked it out and like high-fived everybody in the company and like we were rock stars. That's what I want to see. I think that's like I
Mm.
think that's Sumo's goal too. Like I wouldn't really be here if it wasn't, but
Yeah, and I think this goes back to like stuff we said, it feels like a million years ago, but when we talked about AI mad cow and like how do you know that your
Yes.
AI isn't hallucinating or isn't trained on bad data or whatever, is it comes back to these really narrow applications of AI.
mm,
Like sure, a lot of us are exposed to these big commercial every person kind of AI of like, the Claudes and the ChatGPTs and the Geminis of the world where we can ask it anything like, hey, tell me about my healthcare and tell me about my security threats in the same interface.
Window.
Like that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that's not necessarily going to be like the supermarket win of, one-stop shopping, right? Like
Yeah.
you want your AI to be super honed in on like, I know how to interpret threats. I know how to ask a sumo logic query. And that's all it does all day, every day. And really gets proficient at that thing
mhm.
versus this omniscient, Skynet AI that can do all the things
Yeah.
because it's just not that good at all the things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the future. Smaller models with more specific tasks, it's a higher accuracy rate and all that kind of stuff. AI still can't judge AI. I hate to break it to everybody, and won't be
Mhm.
for a long time because the accuracy of the models aren't. But we're going to get like closer, exactly what you're saying. We're going to get more tight, more specific, have better small models that are cheaper to run, hopefully, because geez. But we're getting there. It's just poco y
Yeah.
poco.
Every time I think about broad AI, I'm like, oh no. And every time I think about like more narrow kind of application of AI, I'm like, awesome. That's amazing. Like it's really good. So, not it's not like a versus thing, but it is just interesting. You hear so much about the broad kind of scary AI that
Yeah.
it's like actually when you get some exposure to more kind of niche uses of AI for like specific purposes, it's like, oh, this is incredible, and this makes me excited. So, but I think to kind of again the maybe wrap this up, like the whole point of this discussion is where's the robot, where's the human? Like we need to be focusing on how humans are made better by AI and not just like this AI is everything and everywhere and we don't need you anymore. Like that, I don't think that does anyone any good. And it certainly doesn't do anyone any good for the people who literally built the technology industries to be the ones saying those kinds of things. I don't think that's helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think ultimately artificial intelligence is great, but human intelligence is where it's at. And like
Yeah.
the hope is that we continue being a thinking, imagining, creative, articulate, innovative species that doesn't just outsource it all to the artificial intelligence because I don't know. I think humans are pretty cool for the most part, and I
Yep.
want to see us doing awesome things with better tools from the AI.
Yeah. No more AIDR, everyone. Oh, David,
Yeah,
one
A-
more. You got
AIDR. Don't be a
don't
dummy.
be.
Don't be a dummy. If you're gonna be a dummy, the AI is gonna come for you.
There you
Don't be
go.
a dummy. Be a better human.
Exactly. Be a
Be a good
human.
human. That's
Yeah.
that's a great wrap up. Love it.
Indeed. Good closing. Well, thank you. Thank you. Y'all are some of my favorite humans. Appreciated the time today. And thank you all for listening, watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Masters of Data. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.